What's up? How's everybody?
How you doing?
Great job.
Good.
Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Can you believe it's 2025?
No.
I don't know where 2024 went, but it's gone, and I'm glad y'all are here this morning. Before we start our lengthy meeting, which is probably going to be about 4 hours, no problem here. I want to take a moment before we start to thank all our wonderful public works guys who tirelessly cleared away all the snow for us so that we could get out of our houses. Y'all did a fabulous job. Thank y'all. I know it's cold and frankly, it's dangerous because you all really don't see where the edges of the roads are. And then when it's dark, it's even worse. And y'all heard work till 3 o'clock in the morning. We're so thankful to have you all work for us and be part of our Sky Valley family. I also want to thank Timeshares who offered several rooms to our guys to come back, get warm, eat a little bit of food, and rest a little bit before they got back out on their equipment. And I also want to thank the city manager and Jerry and Cody for coming up with a plan to get this all done and making sure the equipment was all working, and it was great. And thank you all very much. Council, anybody else need to say anything?
I'd just like to point out that they've still not got my driveway done.
Yeah. You work, yeah, work on that, right? Yeah, sure. Okay, anyway, with that, also I got a jillion thank yous from the community. They all appreciated everything you do. I even got a wonderful text from the police department saying they realized how hard it was for you to do all that, and they appreciated you all keeping everybody safe. So thank you all very much. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and get our meeting started, and we'll start with Mr. Turner's going to offer our invocation, and then we'll stand for the pledge.
Let us pray. We humbly come before you, asking for clarity in our decisions. Help us to seek your wisdom above all else. Remove any confusion or doubt that clouds our judgment as we make choices that affect our lives. We pray for insight into your perfect will. Teach us to trust in your timing and to be patient as we await your response. May your light guide us through this process, illuminating the path before us. We lean on you, knowing that your plans for us are good. Thank you for your faithfulness and love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Bruce. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next item on our agenda, I happily say, is the swearing in of 2 newly elected officials. So it's Jim Curtis and Tony Allred, who have agreed to serve our city for another term as part of this wonderful council. Ms. Fleming will swear them in. Do you need them individually or in a bunch, Ms. Karen?
No, I'll just mention who it's for, and then if you'll stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Okay.
Are you gonna swear at him, Karen?
Gonna swear at him?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Do you need them to stand now or
Yeah.
do they stand now with your hand up? Great.
Yes. And this is for Councilor Allred and Councilor Curtis.
Okay.
If you'll just repeat after me, please. I do solemnly affirm
I do solemnly affirm
that I will truly perform the duties
that I will truly perform the duties
of council member of the city of Sky Valley,
of council member of the city of Sky Valley,
and that I will support and defend
and I will support and defend
the charter thereof,
the charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution and laws
As well as the Constitution and laws
as well as the Constitution and laws
Yeah, I kind of cut that up weird. Of the state of Georgia
of the
of
state
the
of
state of
Georgia
Georgia
and of the United States of America.
and of the United States of America.
And it is done.
And it is
Thank
done. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Jim. I think Jim is going for the record number of council years that he's gonna serve. How many have you served already?
As of this date, exactly 6.
Exactly 6. All
Yeah.
right. So you're going for the record.
That's gotta be up.
Is that a
It's gotta
record?
be- I don't know, it's
Would that
probably
be a record?
close. It's gotta be, we'll look it up. But thank you all. Next, we have the nomination and selection of our 2025 council president. Bill Oliver has served as our president since 2020 and has done an outstanding job. Thank you for everything that you have done in that position, Bill. Bill has a full schedule coming up this year. He's asked that we select a new council president. As we know, our charter defines the council president having a position where they will conduct any city meeting where the mayor cannot be present, or would take over the mayor's position if the mayor was able to fulfill their duties until such time as another election can be held. With that being said, I would like a nomination from the council for this position.
Madam Mayor, I would be pleased to nominate Tony Allred.
Okay?
And I would second that if a second is required.
Do we have any other nominations first? Okay, with that, we've had are your eyes crossing? Yeah, okay, with that, we've had we've had the motion and we've had the sections, yeah, that too. Discussion, any discussion?
I think Tony would be great.
Thank you.
I just have one question.
What is it?
Will he accept? I've been talking to him.
Yes, yes, twist his arm, Bill, if he says anything else. With all that said, all in favor of electing Tony as our new council president, signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, wonderful, congratulations, Tony, we know you'll do well, and you cannot run off, okay.
Tony, are we adjourned now?
Yeah, that's his other position, he is the official adjourner now, we'll get to that in about 4 hours, okay. Now we need to set the 2025 regular council meeting dates. You saw a proposed calendar in your packet. I'll need a motion to adopt this calendar as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Bill. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion? All in favor of this motion signify with aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. The presented 2025 calendar is adopted. Now, we're going fast, y'all. Setting qualifying fees for the 2025 general election. I was recently asked how we came up with the fees, which is $15. It is the minimum. It is set by the election board, and it is in conjunction with our salary. The higher our salary, the higher the fee is. Needless to say, our fee is $15 if anybody runs. All right. That being said, I need a motion to set the qualifying fee as indicated by the election board.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
The 2025 qualifying fee is set. All right. Next, approval of the minutes, and we had some from October 25th, the council work session and planning retreat, November 4th, public hearing held at 10 o'clock in the morning, November 4th, public hearing held at 5 o'clock in the evening, November 12th, public hearing, November 12th, special called council meeting. We were busy in November. I hope you've all had a chance to review these minutes. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
I would make that motion to approve
Thank you,
all
Dan.
four.
All four, yes, the bunch.
I would second that motion.
Thank you. That was Dan and Jim, Karen. All right, all in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
It was unanimous. All right, the minutes are approved. Adoption of the agenda, I need a motion, I cannot speak today. I need an emotion to adopt the agenda as presented.
There's some trepidation about the 4 hours angle.
You are,
I,
yes, well, if we
I
need,
move
if we
we
need a
adopt
break,
the agenda.
Dan has suggested we need a little intermission sign that we can put up on our screen in case we need a
Or a
break.
cartoon. Depends how much coffee you drink.
Yeah, that's right. We might need it. All right, anyway, adoption, we're adopting the agenda. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Jimmy moved.
So adopted. So
Jimmy,
moved.
Jimmy moved,
And I'll
second,
second.
and Bruce second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of adopting the agenda as presented, signify with aye.
Aye.
It is passed and adopted. All right, you're on. Now it's time for Jason to give us his city manager report.
Hello, Mayor Council, those in attendance, those on Zoom, good morning. I hope that all is well as we come out of this most recent storm event. Again, I want to echo the mayor, thank the guys who did, police department, what you did as well. It's a lot of hard work organization to get us to this most recent event. And I know this meeting's long, so I'm gonna be brief in my report here. We just started fiscal year 2025. We're not quite about 3 weeks in to the new year, and we should be around 3% on expenditures. We're about 4%, so we're on track on that. Property taxes are coming in right now. The deadline is the 5th of February. We have received not quite $400,000 of what should be a little over $1 million in taxes, but typically we see a surge of those coming in towards the end of that time, so we expect everything should be good to go. As we close out 2024, we're still seeing a couple of straggling bills that are coming in that we'll be paying that would apply to that budget year, but in a nutshell, I should have some final numbers for you all here soon. We overspent, but we took in more. That's kind of been our thing the past couple of years. We will have to do a budget amendment, probably closer to audit time, which is not uncommon. A lot of cities and counties have to do that, obviously, with budgets, and particularly with the volatility of expenditures. On the water and trash side, we did take in more money than we expected, however, we spent more. So with that being said, that's largely overtime, repairs, supplies, materials, electricity, et cetera, et cetera. We've had conversations in the past about the potential of having to look at our rates. We are doing a rate study right now. I should have that hopefully here very soon. And once we get that in, we'll present that to the council and then put that out to the public, and we will go from there. Let's see, again, I'm trying to be as brief as I can with this. We will be putting out bids for roads, road paving. As you all know, with the most recent budget, we identified about $600,000 in paving we want to do for this year per our spending policy. That has to be put out to bid. We'll put that out to the Georgia Procurement Registry. We'll post it on the website, Clayton Tribune, et cetera. And let that run for 30 days like we did last year. And once we get some competitive bids, we'll be presenting that to you all for consideration and approval. I mentioned with the mayor the other day, we looked at possibly maybe doing another planning retreat like we did last February. If you look at your schedules, if that's something that you feel like we want to do again, probably do that during that time. Of course, we will, if that happens, we will certainly advertise the date, time, location as required, so that anybody can attend. Again, we've got a lot of meetings. I'm gonna stop there about a mayor, but if anybody has any questions. I know that Mr. Pyburn, I think Chief Wallace, and I know Public Works has some stuff they want to report. So I'm gonna reserve time.
Do you want to say anything about the Kubota?
Yes, one of the things that we did, thank you very much, with the recent storm, we did, and this was a budgeted item, for the budget. We did purchase an additional Kubota with a snow plow. It got very much used. And, as per our requirement in our financial policy, it was under the $25,000 mayoral spending limit. That was put out to competitive quotes and, but those things have so many other uses. But, it got well used, well broken in with the snow event, but now we have 3 of those. Thank goodness. If you ask the guys, they wish we had 5 of those because they are just absolute beasts when it comes to plowing snow and everything else that we use them for. Oh, also for efficiency's sake, we've, I didn't want to, I hope I'm not taking, I think Jerry was gonna say this, but that's what I was holding on
Sorry,
to.
Jerry.
But if I steal your thunder, I apologize, but, as you may have noticed, back behind the tractor shed where we make our brine and where the compactor is, we have a little bit of property back behind there. We most recently, we fenced that in and we just had a pole barn built there. So now, what does that mean? That means that instead of having to lug stuff back and forth, we have a secured and strategic place within the city that we can store these Kubotas and skid steers, excavator, et cetera. We're also gonna put a small little building there, kind of like we have back behind here. We can store, we can lock up chainsaws and weed eaters and things like that. So, because the vast majority of what we do takes place in the core of the city, it's now nice that we have a place that we can store this stuff and keep it there without having to lug it back and forth. So again, I think Jerry's gonna mention that, but that's all I have now, man.
We have a locked gate so that it is not easily accessible. Great. I think it's wonderful. Thank you, Jason. Any
Yes.
questions or comments from the council?
Yes, presently, we put those vehicles on the flatbed truck and get them to Sky Valley.
Typically, what we do with the Kubotas, the way we do that, it's just they'll run about 20 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour. We convoy them. We have usually a vehicle with the safety lights in front and the safety lights behind to kind of shuttle them back and forth. But that's typically the most efficient and safest way that we do that. The skid steer, we typically flatbed that. Most of the time it's in the city, it's being used for something. The same thing with the excavator that we have. It only goes about the speed that you walk. So depending upon where the need is at, we will either walk it to that location or we will flatbed it. If it's someplace that's gonna take a considerable amount of time to walk it from one part of the city, we'll flatbed it and carry it. If you all recall, we bought that trailer and that 350 a year or so ago. And we're also fixing to be purchasing an additional plow just for the sake of things for efficiency. Dustin Hensley, who is our safety coordinator, will be heading to Kingsport, Tennessee tomorrow to pick that up.
Wow.
You know, these things, that will go on the F-450, of course. The size of these plows and such, these are not things you can just go to Home Depot or Tractor Supply. These are specialty items but we do take the safety of the city seriously in the roads, and so we're just continuing to do that with these investments.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other
One last-
comments or questions?
one last
Oh, excuse me.
question.
Excuse me, Jim.
A citizen reported that you were seen driving a Kubota on Sunday, which is normally a day off, inspecting the roads. And
You
if
went.
that's true, I just wanted to commend you and say thank you for that
Well,
extra attention.
well, it's part of the job and it's a labor of love and thanking. I don't want to sound corny, but it's my pleasure to do so. And again, the guys, all credit to the guys. They do a great thing as well as the police department. So I definitely want to share and even Chief Sigler there, he does a great job too. So and anyway, thank you. And
Thank you, Jim. Bruce.
So that's all I have.
Quick question,
Yes, sir.
is Evergreen clear all the way down?
Yes.
Okay,
It is. Now, I don't know about Crusher.
Ponderosa player,
Yeah.
Crusher run.
Yeah,
You know, we had those conversations about how we were to handle that. I will say that Kelly Creek Road, yesterday when I came up, I don't think it has been treated at all. I think Mother Nature has done that, because in the sunny spots, it's melted, but in the shady spots, I pretty much ran in four-wheel drive all the way in yesterday coming up Kelly Creek Road, but, I don't know, guys, has Kelly, is
I haven't been on
Crusher?
Kelly's Creek
or
or
Crusher.
Crusher. I know Evergreen's getting.
didn't you all do Mud Creek also?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
We typically,
That's fabulous.
Really
we
Well,
typically,
actually from,
we work on the notion of forgiveness versus permission,
All
but
right,
we never get any complaints from North Carolina about doing it for them, so, we're just gonna leave it at that.
thank y'all. Any other comments or questions from the council? Comments or questions?
Just a big thank you for doing all that work.
Amen.
And it looks like we maybe, there's a chance next week, so
Yeah.
we're getting ready for that too.
Yeah, we were talking about Tuesday, they say it's gonna be 7 degrees here. Kind of a little nippy.
Really cold, really cold.
Okay, any questions from the meeting participants or comments? Okay, we will move on to department report.
Jim Powers, Jim, I didn't give you any credit, but you do a great job as well, so thank you so much.
Mayor, council. One citation for the month of November was issued for cutting trees without a permit over on Tahoe Lane. They subsequently paid a fine. One warning was issued the first week of January, just last week, for roof repair without a permit. And also the repairs were done with a metal roof. The rest of the roof was asphalt. And the metal roof was not in compliance because it was a color that's not permitted. Subsequently, they're going to be painting the roof with a dark brown, the repaired portion, so. Update on the burn house over on Rebel Circle. As you know, this has been an ongoing project. Extensive renovations continue, but right now, the main things that remain to be done are HVAC, plumbing, and electric. 2 certificates of occupancy were issued during this reporting period, 110 Cedar Lane and 38 Schaumburg. Both of these were issued with conditional COs. And the only thing really that remains to be done, and the reason for a conditional, was to bring into compliance the city ordinance requiring paving from the street to the property line. And because of the weather, they haven't been able to do that, but I didn't want to hold up the COs just based on the driveway for banking purposes and mortgages and things like that. Construction continues on 2 new homes under construction, one on Ridgepole, 2068 Ridgepole, 71 Evergreen. And Knob Drive, that new home construction is stalled. This is the property that the fine was paid for cutting trees without a permit. I'm still trying to determine what the reason for the stall is. You only have so much time to, resume construction before you have to apply for a new permit. One new home permit was issued just last week for construction on a parcel over on West Sugar Bush. So we do have another one that's about to start. They're in the process of getting ready to grade and clear the trees within the footprint. 2 new home construction permits are still pending for new builds, one on Saddleback Circle, and which was, he bought the property last year and he's just waiting for the weather to clear up. And then the one on Wildberg that was sold at auction. In October, 17 building permits were issued, and coincidentally 17 tree permits were issued. So 17 and 17. In November, 11 building permits were issued and 2 tree permits. In December, 7 building permits and 3 tree permits. And just to close, in 2024, 374 permits I issued versus only 215 in 2023. So I issued 159 more permits last year than the year before. Thank you.
A question on these tree permits. when a homeowner hires a tree company, are they aware that there has to be a permit? Do they get a fine also, or does it just fall on the homeowner?
No, it should fall on whoever's cutting the tree. All the contractors know, and whether they claim they do or not, I've made very clear that they have to have a permit to cut trees. Now, as far as the new construction, previously, we didn't require a tree permit proper. I mean, it was part of the construction process. But recently, I'm making sure, for instance, on this one that I issued last week, part of the package was your contractor, you, and anybody else, the greater, anybody involved in the construction of this home has to make certain that they're aware of our tree permit. I hand out the paperwork. And I also go out to the property and inspect. They've got the footprint, and then, of course, no more than 25% outside of the footprint. But right now, I'm telling them, I'm limiting you to the footprint, period. Don't cut anything outside of the footprint. So, yeah, it's very clear.
The only other thing is on View Lane and on LaBelle, those cars that are parking there, is there anything that can be done? There's a BMW that has no plates. It looks it's a beater. And then on View Lane, you have a Jeep that's got a canvas on it to cover it. And it's just an eyesore. Is there anything that our ordinances can remedy that?
The chief may or may not be aware of this since he's relatively new, but I have deferred the BMW on LaBelle Circle to the police department because it doesn't have a tag. So that's considered a traffic offense.
Mm-hmm.
The three that are on View Lane, also speaking with the police department, we clearly have an ordinance saying not to park in the right of way, especially this time of year when we've got the snow.
Weather, yeah.
But, and this is something that the council and the P&Z and the rest of us will have to discuss. If we go after those three in this, again, in close contact with the police department, if we go after those on View Lane, there's a lot of other cars throughout Sky Valley. We can't just single those out. And you're gonna have a lot of people that have been, not complying for a long time. And I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but before we start doing that, we really need to make sure that we're all on board.
In other words, don't practice selective enforcement.
Absolutely.
We probably need to review the ordinances that have something to do with this.
Madam Mayor, just on a second, or afterthought on that, and I'll be glad to talk with Mr. Kidd about this, but we've had some conversations last year. What we have is several piecemeal ordinances over the years. We really need to amend, appeal all that, and come up with a comprehensive right-of-way ordinance, because that touches all the aspects, from cars parking in the right-of-way to contractors working in our right-of-way.
To the fire engine.
Yeah, et cetera. So, that's something that probably,
Yeah.
I'll revisit that with Mr. Kidd, but, that is something that we recognize that,
Yeah.
we just need to have something more comprehensive, because,
Right.
give you an example, right now, the way the ordinance read, if a contractor damages our right-of-way, they have 20 days. If they hit our water line, if we're not fixing that water line in 20 minutes, we drain the tank. So there's some things there that just don't make sense.
Right.
So we are aware of that. I've talked to Mr. Kidd, we'll revisit that, but, just wanted to share that we know that we recognize there's some things to be done.
And on that note, if I may, just, for instance, this roof issue. Right now, we don't, as far as metal roofs, we've got dark brown, dark green, and gray, dark gray. There's a lot of roofs that are, no pun intended, in the gray area. We need to revisit things like that because it makes my job hard. And, I mean, not that I want to get into any, discussions with some of the homeowners about what, again, it comes from the council. So it's something that we need eventually to revisit. A lot of the ordinances need to be cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody, as far as meeting participants, have a comment or question of Mr. Pattern?
I've got a question.
Okay.
Jim, you mentioned that there had been a couple of fines for cutting trees, and I wasn't sure if that was because they didn't do the permit or if it was because they overcut the trees. And in that discussion, you didn't mention what the fines were. Is there some reason we don't disclose that publicly?
Well, I only mentioned two specifically
Yeah.
that you're referring to.
That's right.
The one that the construction is stalled, that was decided by the city's attorney and the individual property owner's attorney. The city manager and myself had a recommendation. The judge had a recommendation. Ultimately, the attorneys hashed it out, and so it was beyond our decision-making control. The other one, strictly by the book, the one that he cut down 13 trees. It's $100 for the first 5 trees and $20 for the other 8 trees, so that's $260. And I know we're about to talk about the tree ordinance, part of the agenda, but in the next P and Z meeting, we, the tree ordinance, we've been, since I've been here 2 years, I mean, it's just been ongoing and ongoing. But as far as the fines, it will apply what we're supposed to. I think that they should be adequate, but for instance, 13 trees, $260, I don't think that's adequate.
Yeah,
Well, with the exception of the other one, it was what, 12 trees? Up on Knob, Jim?
Oh, no, we're talking
I
about,
know what I'm saying is that, but to answer your question, Counselor, what should have been up to $1,000 a tree wound up being $100 a tree by the time the attorney, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, for full transparency. As attorneys got involved, the homeowner lawyered up, our city attorney got involved, and it was negotiated to $100 a tree. So, our recommendation was somewhere in the middle of that 1,000 to 100 that Jim and I came up with, but ultimately that's the way it happened. He paid a fine, I believe, $100, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
Again, it's,
it could have been $37,000. It was $1,200.
okay.
Yeah. To answer your question.
$37,000 sounds like that ought to be enough to convince most reasonable people to comply with the ordinance. But as I look around Sky Valley, I see a real problem. And most of the homes that have been constructed recently, almost every one of them has appeared to the layman to have been overcut. And to me, that's a problem, because our canopy is one of the things that makes Sky Valley unique. And if we want to preserve that canopy, I think we're going to have to enforce our the fines sufficiently to provide a deterrent. And for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like that's what's happening right now. And I don't know if there's anything that the council can do, if you need additional authority, or we need to be more specific on how these are applied, or if we can make it a rule such that, the judge and the attorneys don't get together and, tamp it all down. But one of the problems is we don't have a lot of the facts about what these numbers, the fines are. And so, Dan, I don't know if you have a feeling on this, but I think as we go forward.
Well, excuse me, Jim, before you go any further,
Yeah.
as far as the two that I mentioned, the 13 trees, the ordinance was followed to the book, by the book.
Okay, well,
And again, it was only $260 for 13 trees. The other one, the attorneys, we approached it with the ordinance, followed that by the book. And the judge didn't get involved as far as offering a suggestion. At the end of the day, it was the attorneys that made the decision. So we're following the rules. I suggest, like you just recommended, that, you know, we revisit the finding ordinance and, you know, make a decision there. And then, like you said, talk to the attorney about it, because once it gets to that point, it's out of the city manager and my control.
And otherwise, the ordinances are useless. If word gets out that they can lawyer up and get it, you know, for a.
That's
As far as-
true.
Regardless of what the ordinance says. You cannot take away somebody's right to litigate, period. All that being said, clearly the ordinance that we've got now, which has been on the books for several years, is not workable. The one that we came up with at a committee level last year has a lot of problems with it as well, and which is why it hasn't been adopted by the city council. We are going, as a planning and zoning committee, going to go back and revisit that and try and come up with something. But as you know, this has been going on for 10 years.
Yeah, right.
And it's not an easy.
I know.
Understood, but are we piddling in the wind if whatever we assess as a fine is legally gonna be dismissed?
Councilor Turner, I would like to think that that probably was an exception. Judge Sneed is no nonsense. I do think the enforcement action is working in a lot of ways, because the certainty of the fine, the inconvenience of the fine, the embarrassment of having to come in. I know that one particular property owner, he was very concerned about his image per se, of having to come before the judge. But we are being very aggressive about penalizing these people. Again, it is up to $1,000 a tree, and Judge Sneed has said, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but depending upon somebody, they better come hat in hand, or they may be leaving very unhappy. But a lot of times he does give us discretion to try to work with these property owners, to try to come up with a reasonable fee. There has been a couple times where it's been reduced down, but that was an exception, I believe, because usually, if we have any discretion, it's gonna be closer to what the judge says. But I think that was just a one-time event. Hopefully we won't see that again anytime soon, but, that was the attorneys getting together, and, that was the agreement that was made. But we, I do think that we are certainly, the word is getting out that we are enforcing this. That's gonna be a deterrent. Most of our local tree companies that do work here, they know they have to get a permit, they know the rules. In fact, that one tree company got fined as well, so, and again, I know they were embarrassed by that, and I don't think that will happen again with them, but, again, I don't wanna beat this to death, but just wanna say that we are aggressively, going after these people.
Bill?
So I've got a comment. It seems to me we need to revisit the tree ordinance and get something done this year.
Yeah.
Second thing is we need to have a conversation with our attorney about
Exactly.
what our desire and what would be the best for the city, and not to be too lenient with this.
What we will accept, yes, I agree
Correct.
100%.
And I don't think we can rely just on fines. I think litigation has to be involved. So if you've cut down a whole bunch of trees, you're gonna have to plant a whole bunch of trees.
Yeah, that's right.
So, that's all part and parcel of what's gotta.
Yeah.
gotta
Good
happen.
discussion. Great discussion.
Well, I think the ordinance that we last looked at is fixable,
I do.
and I commend you for looking at it, and I'm just, my overarching point is this is something that I hear from the citizens about, and I think this is an issue that, for the future of Sky Valley, we really need to grapple with.
And we are grappling. We are definitely grappling. Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? Anybody, meeting participant, need to make a comment or a question? Good morning, Chief Wallace.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, and members of council. Those in attendance, both here physically and virtually. Just to give you an update on what's basically been my first month here. I've been going through the employee handbook and also the cross-referencing it to the police department's policy and procedure manual. My predecessor had quite a policy and procedure manual that he had authored, and about 50 to 75% of it we are not in compliance with. So we know that puts the city at a liability if we're not in doing what we're saying we are doing. So on chapter 15 of 18 chapters of that, it's a very thick policy and procedure manual. I spend a couple hours a day reading it and making notes and adjustments. Having come from a larger department, we went through certification right before my retirement, so I know what the best practices are and what Georgia Association Chief of Police recommend as well. There are some obscure things in the policy manual, like I brought up to Jason yesterday. It states that no SUV will be involved in a pursuit. We pretty much all drive SUVs. Or utility vehicle. So just, there are minor things, but then there are some things that are major that I think affects the department as a whole. As far as this past weekend goes, it was wonderful to work with the street department. Jerry, props to you on having a second man in charge in your succession and keeping him and mentoring him, and everything went smoothly. And the city not working in silos, working together to achieve a common goal. A couple more notes. One of the things I've noticed, the department has a mission statement. It's rather large. Mission statement should be rather brief. Every officer should have it by memory and be able to tell you like that, but this one's about 6 sentences long, and we do not have a vision statement. We do not have any core values listed as well. Those are things that we'll be working on. Looked at our 2025 budget. Talked with Jason about adding some more jail lines to it to break it down even more so, instead of just small equipment repairs, having lines for ammunition, things that we can dive deep into and we know where the money's going instead of just a larger group. Still meeting with the community, done some scheduled meetings, and then a lot of impromptus, just rolling up, talking to people coming in the office and speaking as well. So be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions from the council? We're glad you're here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
My
indeed.
pleasure.
Thanks for getting into those issues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my police vehicle's been parked on kind of the right of way for the last few days, but there's no way to get towed down that driveway without.
I wouldn't go down that driveway either.
It's hard enough to do so in my personal vehicle.
There's quite a few homes like that.
Yeah, I do have one question. Did we have anybody try to get out that couldn't, that wound up in a ditch or anything?
We've been very fortunate. I was thinking about this before the meeting. Yesterday, we had one side swipe. I think that's about the only accident we had within the city limits. And it was a Subaru and a Escalade coming around the curve, and the Subaru side swiped the Escalade trying to avoid some ice, which they ended up stopping right here in front of City Hall, and but they didn't even ask for a report. They just exchanged insurance information.
Chief, just to comment, I think the city did a wonderful job, reaching out to all the community and all the residents to, if you don't have to stay in, does that reach the top, or the, not timeshares, but the third-party renters?
If they're following the city on the website, it possibly, but I don't know.
Because it seems like
We had
That's
some
issue.
out of towners come in for the weekend just for the snow, I think.
Yeah.
Just noticed, where I was parking my truck at Haas, there were some people leaving when I was out there clearing the snow off it, so I think That just came in for the weekend.
Just curious.
Jason said we had how many calls of people saying if it's snowing, we're coming.
Sharon always does a great job getting that information out. As far as the renters, I mean, that's really kind of a responsibility, I think the owner or host should do. We encourage everybody to, again, if anybody watches this meeting, reach out, get on the MailChimp list, follow the Facebook pages, follow the city website. We have a Twitter feed, Sky Valley Road Water and Trash Status. We got a whopping 65 followers on that. But we started out with one, so we're getting there. But anyway, we put that information out. We put the signs out that you may have seen.
Yeah.
And we really push that, please, please don't get out, because we can't plow roads if we're having to drive around abandoned vehicles. But but really, that's probably something that would fall on that host or owner. Hopefully that they are telling these people, hey, if you come up here in the wintertime, this is a mountain community, you may get snow in. We probably had about a dozen calls in the city hall. Hey, is it gonna snow this weekend? Looks like it is. Yes, I'm coming up. The message is, well, if you come up, you can probably plan for about 3 days, food, water, medicine, because you may be here. So, but again, we're that time of year, and we've been very fortunate the past couple of years. We haven't had it, but we feel like this is gonna be a long winter, but we're ready for it.
And I'll just add that, as far as I know, we did not receive any calls. One of the things that I asked the department to do is if they saw an abandoned vehicle off the roadways, take a piece of crime scene tape and just put it on the side view mirror. And that way the next officer that came along working next shift knew that it had been checked. There was no one left abandoned in the vehicle. As far as I know, we did not have any.
Been a little chilly to sleep in that car. Huh?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Chief Wallace, thank you again for your professionalism. The chief is also running shifts. He's getting to know the people, and I feel like that you're really emphasizing creating a police family. Thank you for being part of the Sky Valley as a whole. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good job. Gentlemen, everything I know, Cody's got some stuff.
Good morning, there you are. That's no kin in here, just looking at us like that. Anyway, I'd like to say good morning, and I'm glad everybody's well. Again, on the snow, I was out of pocket. Cody took over.
Did he say things about you when you don't know it, or what?
I don't
Say anything
hear
about-
it, but,
He didn't.
they did a great job. We did talk several times, me and him and Jason by phone, but Cody took it and did an excellent job. I did come in Sunday and scraped a little bit myself, and I was on the new Kubota that we was talking about earlier. I went to the top of Bayberry and
In that Kubota,
in
wow.
that Kubota.
Yeah.
And got it down to you could see the road, the pavement on it. It did a fine job. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have concerns, wondering, but if you're in it and you see it yourself, it's a different ballgame, but, it did really well. The leaf vac is repaired. We had a new wiring harness put on it. We've been cleaning ditches as we can with the excavator and the skid steer and blowers as we can, and we'll keep doing that. As Jason spoke on, paving, we're looking at some roads to be paved coming up, that definitely need a lot of attention. And Cody has been working on his PRV pits, and I'll let him talk a lot about that, but it's helped a lot, and we got a lot to go on that, but, it's helped a lot with the water issues. Another thing is looking at another excavator. The old saying is one's none and two's one. Several months back, we had 2 major water leaks on each side of the city. So we had to repair one before we could do the other versus if you got one that's over here cleaning ditches or doing, with the trimming and picking up and going, the other one can be doing the water leak and that kind of thing. And, you can get attachments, get flail mowers for it for time and efficiency to try to speed things up a little bit. It is enclosed. That would make it easier to be able to get a flail mower for it as far as danger. There's stuff flying around while you're flail mowing and that kind of stuff. But, I think for the most part, I just want to say thank you to everybody. We had several citizens reach out to us during the storm. Hey, my house is open, it's unlocked. You need to get warm, you need something to eat, the power goes out. To continue support, it's unbelievable. I mean, it really means everything when it comes to the guys, and you tell them to do something and they're out there and they're on it. And like I said before, the ladies, they get on us pretty good, which we need it. We need it on the work orders and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We get our mind focused on other things.
So you're saying the women focus you, Jerry, is that? Are you saying the women focus you? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
I know it's probably, the person behind you you're referring to.
Well, if you look underneath, there's probably a whip underneath.
Or a pride.
Anyway, she does a good job. They all do a good job. Jason does a great job, and the council is excellent.
Of course we are.
Getting the ditches clean, we still have a lot of work on that to get that done, just to get them redefined. But the ones that we have done, I spoke on it before. When it rains, the water is doing a lot better where we've used the hydrovac and all that to take care of some of that. But overall, I think it's going good. I do have a new hire. I sent him on to get with the guys today, but he's a younger guy. His name's Matthew Crowder. He's 19, and he seems to have a good head on his shoulders. Of course, he's young, but
Yeah.
he'll come on and we'll train him to the best we can.
Do you wait till they're here a month before you all give them a nickname, or does it come sooner?
Sleepy. He always looks sleepy, so
They're all gonna be named after the dwarves.
Yeah. Who's Dumpy though?
I didn't really have this on my brain this morning, but Mr. Jim bringing up the canopy look in the city. The canopy it's beautiful. In the summertime, it's beautiful. And we have trimmed a lot, and we went too far a lot of times. But it's also a fire hazard that we have to go by too as well as far as the trees coming across the roadway and getting close to touching one another. But we'll leave it to a minimum as we can, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes we have went excessive. But it helps us in the winter. I know 2 winters ago, they went up and was going to plow roads, and there was trees where the limbs had fell off in the road and they couldn't plow and that kind of thing. But that's just something we'll work with and work through it, and we won't scout nothing.
Jerry, I just have one question. How old is our leaf pack? It seems like it's always in need of repair. Or am I overemphasizing that?
I think we got it right before COVID, so it's probably 19 on, I guess, 19, 20.
They're about $100,000 plus.
Okay, never mind. Keep repairing.
I run the subject of leaf back when you're out doing ditches, and Chief Ziegler probably has something to say about this. Occasionally, I'm seeing fire hydrants that are all but disappearing in piles of leaves. So when you're doing ditches, please look at those as well. Because if they go along and can't find the fire hydrant because it's buried, it doesn't do any of us any good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions? Anybody from the meeting participants?
We will also, well, we already have been preparing for what's coming up. I
Yeah,
don't know if we're gonna get it or not,
Right.
but we're
What
gonna go
is it,
through
Sunday?
everything, make sure everything's in working order
Sunday and
and
Monday.
ready to go again.
It always happens on the
Next
weekends.
storm.
I know, snow always comes at night on holidays or the weekends, right? That's the law.
Did anybody in Raven County
Water
lose
leaks
power
the same way.
with this last storm?
I don't know. I don't know.
I seen where, one couple said the storm hadn't even got here and we're out of power, so it, you know, but I didn't hear anything during the storm, but,
It's sympathy.
yeah, I'll let Cody speak on the
Okay,
water.
Cody.
I'd like to touch on freezing pipes. Actually, before the snow came, we had some work orders to go check some water. And the homeowners actually had frozen pipe underneath their house, had left their crawl space open, you know, different things like that. I just wanted to touch on, you know, if you have a crawl space, make sure you put your little heater in there or something. I think it's supposed to be like 10 degrees next week or something.
7.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold. Leave your water dripping. You know, there's some common practices of, making sure you don't have frozen pipes. The PRVs, the pressure reducing valve pits, we've, fully rebuilt 5 of those out of 17. Those kits are about $3,000 a piece. We have, 4 sitting ready to be put in. Of course, the storms, you know, Helene and the snow kind of held us off from doing a lot of that. As we go through those pits, we're putting in, new gauges, oil filled gauges, so they won't freeze. You know, cleaning, old rust, putting new bolt kits in, the whole 9 yards. We're taking every action we can to make sure that our water system is gonna make it, you know, another 10 years, another 20 years.
Didn't our water,
He's also talking about we should have brought one where you could have seen that. But it's the top of the PRV itself, the whole top comes off and it's got a big diaphragm and a plunger and a spring. And it's what controls a lot of your water flow and your pressure where it goes through, and he's changing the pilot valve.
And as we go through, we're taking down notes, you know, what pressure is, what it should be, what too high, you know. If we have a leak or we have somebody complaining of high pressure, we can go through and make sure all of our gauges are reading right. You know, to ensure that.
is it hard to see the gauge?
No, as we put them in, we make sure that, you know, we turn them the right way. So all you gotta do is open the lid,
Okay.
glance at it, and,
A lot of them don't even have gauges.
yeah, a lot of the ones, they didn't even have them. So we're going through and putting all the gauges where they should be. You know, it's costing more money, but I think it's gonna save a lot more money in the long run.
How much is one of them gauges, Cody? Just
About
about
60.
3/8 by quarter.
It's about $60 for the oil filled ones.
Yeah.
Have you noticed high pressure before?
Yes, we come across, come across one that had about 80 PSI too much. And after we got done rebuilding the, reducer, it completely fixed itself.
Which can lead to water
It can
leaks.
lead, yes, and looking back on it, it explains a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
In the area that it was, it explains a lot.
So that is an area where leaks have
Yes.
occurred.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
several
cost.
actually.
Yeah.
The only thing I got, I don't know if we're gonna talk about it right now, or we're gonna talk about the Bobcat. I know Gary's-
No, that's,
or the
y'all
excavator.
trying to jump the gun. We're gonna talk about that during
Yeah,
17.
so I'll save that. I know Jerry touched on that, but, that's about all I've got. Of course, Jason spoke on, the water rates, study.
Yeah.
Just since 2021, a fire hydrant has doubled in price. They were about $1,600 in 2021, and now they're $3,200 a piece.
How often do we have to replace those?
Well, it's been a long time since
Well,
some have been replaced up here. I've been here going on 10 years and we've only replaced one.
Six mains double too, but
A lot of times we don't replace them unless there's something wrong with it. Of course, we've got one at the old lodge that,
Hasn't worked forever.
yeah, it's
It's broke now.
yeah, it's broke now, but
It's broke.
not just fire hydrants, it's anything from a 3/4 fitting to a 1/2 inch fitting to a 6 inch fitting, everything is going way up. And it's hard to keep up, you know, with the amount of money versus if we have trouble, we gotta put it back together.
Sure we do.
So I think that's something that,
Touch on that hydrant at the old lodge. There's no.
there's no shut off valve out in front of it that we know of unless it's buried in the grass.
From what I understand, and sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Moody says it's on the other side of the street, and it's probably been paved over.
Right. Yeah, it's probably been paved over. And of course, that's the main drag of the city right there. So if, when we repair, we're gonna have to shut off the flow to the main drag of the city right there. And of course, there's high pressure down there because it's in the valley. But, it's gonna be a challenge to get that repaired. I'm hoping we can make
And
it
if
till at
there's a
least. it
fire
warms up
in
a
that
little bit.
area, what happens then, Chief Sigler?
Well, we've got a hydrant in front of the clubhouse, and we've got one in front of the church.
Okay,
But as with anything else, I mean, if we have a fire and there's a hydrant in the front yard, we're not gonna go a block away to find another one.
Right.
That's the largest, as far as I know, the largest fire load in the 2 counties we serve, sitting right there.
do you all have a tanker truck or anything?
You have a tanker
Okay.
and.
Do y'all still pull out of, the lake there on top of it? Can you?
We can, as long as the hydrant's right there, you know, but that's a lot of work, a lot of manpower.
That begs the question, how long would it take you in a massive fire to use up our 250,000 gallons of fresh water?
Well, if anything breaks in the middle of it.
And-
250,000.
And, you know, obviously, we're thinking about Southern California and Gatlinburg, the arson fire across the street, you know. Do we have sufficient reservoir when our tanks run dry?
Yes, we do. We have both one on Tahoe. We have one across from the compactor. We have one behind the country club to draw out of the reservoir, at least for this area down here.
Okay.
It's one of the things, it's one of our plans, if we do have a large fire, I'm not worried so much about the new clubhouse, because it's sprinkler. So that's 99%.
Well, our sprinkler though comes off our.
Yeah, comes right off your domestic water. And, you know, if the old lodge goes, you know, we've got to do our job. We got to go in and do a preliminary search and contain and control the fire, regardless of the status and the condition of the building. It's not one of those things we go up and we look at and go, oh, well.
Yeah, it needs to go anyway.
We're fortunate that nothing happened in that area. I mean, it's something that's on mine and Kobe's brain every day, but the fire hazard is priority, but we're gonna have to turn
The challenges that come with changing that hydrant is.
the whole.
Is there any way you guys can, with all your little magnets and sensors and everything, find that isolation valve underneath?
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Can we
Use
bypass
our
it?
GPR machine.
Can we
Metal
bypass it and
detectors.
put it somewhere else? Close? Would that be easier?
You still gotta figure out how to shut down the system
You gotta
too.
tie it in somehow.
Well, that's true, but at least you wouldn't have to look under the road, maybe, I don't know.
The easiest thing to do is find that isolation valve, and you might want to.
And hopefully it's got one. That's probably one of the oldest hydrants.
It's one of the oldest is actually behind the old
Yeah.
one, and, that's.
Right.
You might want to get with Moody, he may remember where that.
Yeah, that's a good
there's
idea.
an isolation.
Yeah. All right, I think that's all I've
Thank
got.
you, Tom.
Cody, quick question, when
Yes,
you,
sir.
you referenced, cold weather, leave your faucet dripping a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Now, is that for folks that have a crawl space or for all residents in general?
That's just a common practice, you know, if it gets cold, if water's moving, it doesn't freeze as bad.
And that would just one faucet would do
Yeah, that's gonna save your main line from freezing, you know, everything from the meter up into the house, of course, the house should be heated. But it's just gonna keep water moving, into the house, cause water doesn't freeze as bad if it's moving.
Give you another scenario, if you've got, say, a kitchen sink that's on an outside wall,
Yeah,
open the doors underneath, because the heat doesn't get under
Yeah.
the cabin.
yeah.
So,
And that's probably more the,
Most people.
most people's,
Yeah, that work order I was telling you about, that we had to go out and check the meter. That lady had left her crawl space open, and her main line valve was right there, and it's froze solid. And she ended up taking a hairdryer out there for about an hour and thawing it out, so
Yeah.
she could have some water.
That's, a lot of it too is, from the meter to the house that was put in years ago before they upgraded some of the system and put in the homeowner valves. The lines coming from the meter to the house, it might not be into the frost.
deep enough,
Yeah, might not be deep enough. If you leave it running, it'll help.
And, you know, winterize your house. If you're gonna leave for more than just a few days, I'd turn your main line off and drain your whole house out. Unless you're gonna, you know, leave your water or leave your heat on, you know, pretty good.
Yeah.
You're planning on turning your heater off and being gone for more than 3 or 4 days, you're gonna have issues when you come back.
Thank you, Cody.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got a question. I'm not sure if it's for Cody or for Chief Sigler, but as we go through the process of replacing the pressure reducing valves, and that's changing the pressure in the systems, I know you've got a color coded system so
For the hydrant.
that we know when you've got a dangerous hydrant that's got really high pressure.
Right.
Is that gonna change?
After the pressure reducing valves, I get the word that the pressure reducing valves have been put in, and it should have an impact on the entire system. We'll come back and reevaluate.
Okay,
What you're referring to is the steamer cap on the front. If it's silver,
yes,
it's over 100 pounds of static pressure in the thing. That lets our engineers know that, you know, basically they're gonna use the fire truck as a pressure reducing valve. If you would. You get up in those pressures, and things get dangerous, things happen in a hurry.
yeah,
And if, you know, at those pressures, and these guys know as well as we do, if there's a water hammer and I can't, you know, all I can do is try to prevent a water hammer, but if there is a water hammer, something gets shut down too fast, we're talking those kind of pressures, something bad can happen real quick. Either to the water main, which from my perspective isn't that big a deal, sorry, but it can also break our truck too, which
Yeah.
really puts everybody in a bit of a bind at that point. Yeah, after all the pressure reducing valves are taken care of, that's the only thing that we're gonna be concerned with is that static pressure that's behind the, you know, the regular operating pressure of the hydrant. It's got nothing to do with the flow. The pressure reducing valve should not impact the flow at all. That's their job it's called pressure reducing valve, not a flow reducing valve. So, I'd love to get the pressures down. It's one of the reasons that hydrant broke in front of the lodge down there. Is there's just so much pressure on the thing that it takes a tremendous amount of torque to open and close that hydrant. And the operating stem broke on the thing while we were using it. So luckily it broke in the closed position and not the open. The fire truck would still be tied to it.
It would already be fixed by now.
thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Cody, thank you, Chief. All right, let's move on to our next agenda item, which is committee reports. I don't think we had too many committees meeting in December. Bruce, did you all meet?
I would like to possibly next week have the Fall Fest committee meet, just to kind of get the juices flowing and talk about what went well and what we need to remedy for this year's Fall Fest. And also decide, do we want to, we've always gone with the third week in October. Do we want to entertain the fourth week? Just to eliminate some of the competition, or is that not a reality?
Right.
But just, I'd like to kind of revisit and get things started and you reach out to some of the vendors.
Okay, great.
Other than that, I'd like to do a cleanup of the area that we typically do from the front entrance down to the, but it's not a good time. Just with the cold, even if there were snow. But the only other mention I have, and it's not part of the committee, is, you know, since a lot of the construction has blossomed since COVID, so has the litter.
Yeah.
And I know Jimmy and some of the other people on Evergreen has seen a big amount. Is there any way that we can have a convoy, a group that can patrol that? Evergreen's a bogger because there's no place to pull over and pick up anything, but anyhow.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
We need to talk about it. Thank you, Bruce. I know Dan, the P and Z is going, you've already mentioned, they're gonna meet and discuss our favorite ordinance, the tree
The
ordinance.
ongoing ordinance.
Yeah, okay. Anything else you have on your schedule?
Well, I'm sure Jason will come up with something.
Well, I will add, July 5th, Independence Day, that's a Saturday. I've already had a conversation with our fireworks people. They do a great job for us. For due diligence, we will get other prices, but they said they will price match.
Okay.
But we're already getting ready for that. So just, they'll shoot the Dillon House on the 4th, they'll shoot us on the 5th of July, Saturday. So we're planning for that too.
Yeah, and will they still entertain like a 2 or 3 year contract that freeze prices, or they were?
It's so volatile right now, basically, they're telling us the same price we paid last July, but I've got them only a 4% increase, but with the cost of everything going up, as we always seem to know, they're trying to do their best to help us out, but, it was, a small increase. I don't know what that will be, but, again, we will try to get other prices. Those type of entities, not another meeting's gotta get long, I'll say this real quick and hush, but it's not like trying to find a car vendor or something where they're in every corner in every town. These guys are kind of specialized. They moved heaven and earth. We had some issues last July. The shooter that shot Dillard got arrested. So, you know, we spent that whole day hoping we were gonna have fireworks.
Yeah.
The owner of the company drove from Columbia to get the job done. And so, that level of commitment, I was very impressed.
The show was wonderful too.
Yeah,
As good as we
we
Yeah,
basically, they basically had to build those caissons in the rain.
Right by the old lodge.
Yeah, they had to
They
park
didn't
underneath.
explode.
But anyway, you know, they're,
Are we gonna go for a multi-year contract again, Jason?
he didn't really seem inclined to want to do that.
Okay.
But, I mean, I can certainly ask him again.
Okay.
But he already had us on the schedule. In fact, when he said, hey, he recognized my number and he said, I got you down for July 5th. And I said, okay.
Okay.
So, I like.
Do you want to say anything about mayoral advisory?
No.
Okay, I know you all are planning on meeting
Yep.
to discuss.
As soon as we have something you need advice on.
I'll see you in 5 minutes. I need some advice. Thank you, Bill. Okay. Thank you. Next item is the ratification of the 2025 Sky Valley Scaly Mountain Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Oh, did I miss you? Sorry.
I'll keep it short.
Okay. Oh, wait, we're not talking budget yet.
No, committee report.
All right, committee report, excuse me. Excuse me, Gordon.
I'll keep it short. Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
Well, good morning, and I just want to keep it brief.
It's
with the
Bill's
market.
fault because he said I needed advice, so go ahead.
But, yeah, in terms of the marketing committee, what a meeting we had in December, and, I'll just briefly go over it. One of them was Doug Hollinsworth of Gulf Life. Doug Life is saying that, we're gonna have another publication, and that's gonna shortly come out, both in terms written and, data wise, about Sky Valley. Doug's doing a great job. Doug now is gonna be in the PGA show, and the PGA show, he plans to promote Sky Valley. And one of his goals for this coming year is to spend a little more time on in terms of real estate and promoting real estate. One of the things was to do some cross marketing with the Gulf Coast area. He says, I'm gonna look at that in terms of marketing. So seeing people come up, which we're seeing more people move up here from that area, heat and so forth. He also is gonna have more media visits that is coming this year for us, and we're planning for that. He also plans to work with Explore Raven to help put a spotlight on Sky Valley. So we're working across each other. So he's doing a great job. Lots of things that are planned for Sky Valley for us this year. The visitor fact sheet, this is something that about Sky Valley Sharon worked on. And this is something we're talking about the facts of Sky Valley, and the committee worked on it and finally finalized it, December meeting, and I believe it's now available for visitors. Is that correct, Sharon? Sharon?
We have one more thing that Jim and I were gonna talk about.
Okay, Jim is working on different items. I think you'd be impressed by it in terms of handing it out. Gives you a quick review of what's happening and what's on in Sky Valley. Other was Placer Company. We had a presentation from Placer Company. And this is something that initially Jim's had put out. And Placer Company, essentially, they collect geological data from cell phones. Okay, cell phones, and they can go ahead and tell you just how many visits are any particular area, Sky Valley, how many people are visiting, time they're visiting, and where they're from. And so it's something the committee will be looking at. Is it something data we want? As we get more sophisticated in terms of marketing, we might know that 20% of our visitors are from a certain area, or 30%. And maybe we should be spending more time marketing that area. So interesting stuff, but there's a cost to it. So we're going to be spending more time looking at it and see other alternatives that cost less money. But it was fascinating to see tracking where we are and how it is, the data. Yeah, in a way it's a little scary, but at the same time, it helps you know by cell phone data. The other was timeshares of Sky Valley. In this case, the mayor had worked with them on that, and they've been attending several of our meetings, the fourth quarter meetings, and they've got some really positive things they want to do. And we like what they're saying, and what they're looking at do. So they have showed an interest and have now are going to be part of joining the marketing committee. So this year they'll be a part of it. You'll see in the budget. And the other is the Sky Valley marketing budget. We'll be talking about that. And the committee looked at it thoroughly. They approved it. And I'm happy to say that we had over $6,400 of unspent funds that we'll be carrying over. So we certainly stayed on track.
Which you're gonna buy gifts for the council?
Yeah, it would be tough. Our committee is tough. So they'll look at those expenses very tough. But that's it.
Thank you, Gordon. You're doing a wonderful job. All right, now we will talk about the ratification of the 2025 Sky Valley Scaling Mountain Volunteer Fire and Rescue Agreement. Jason, if you'll introduce and summarize this agreement quickly, we will go from there.
By the way, this is an annual agreement that we've had year over year. They do a great job helping us out, not only with fires, but with other events that happen. We've got a good working relationship. It helps keep the insurance rates down. Everything appears to be in order. I believe you may have already signed that. It just needs to be ratified. And I know Chief Sigler is here. If there's anything I can't answer, he can be able to answer that. But it's this is something we see every year, and it just gives a level of assurance of moving forward and knowing that we've got a dedicated entity when we have those events that we need their services.
Okay, questions or comments from the council?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the percentage of your overall budget that this represents?
I think it's around, between the two counties and two states that we serve, it is around 43%.
What would you say?
43. Okay. Thank you.
But if that seems like a lot, 72% of our calls are in Sky Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you're telling me we're all living dangerously, isn't it?
At least, not as long as you got us.
Ooh, look at the.
What you do on your own time is up to you. We can leave it.
Now, Ken, are those fire related or accident related?
Accident, EMS, got in the past week, a couple calls for my plumbing's broke. Can you come help us?
Do you?
Yes.
Okay, oh, all right.
Oh,
That's what I never thought of.
That is the one thing that is guaranteed in this country. When you call a fire department, we will come.
Yeah.
You didn't say you fix it, you just said you come.
We'll come, that's right.
He comes and he says, yeah, you're right, it's leaking.
It's in the mission statement.
We've got the fire department budgeted for 1.5 mils.
Mhm.
And what's the difference between the millage rate this year and what was a mill worth last year?
You talk about monetary.
The meal for this year, ballpark $106,000. I think a meal for the last budget year was around 80. I'd have to pull those numbers, but it basically equates to about a $29,000 increase to the fire. Last year, we paid them, I think, around $132,000. For this year, it will be right at 160,000, where they get 1.5 of the net digest. As the digest goes up, they get 1.5 meals. You take that 106,000, multiply by 1.5, you get that 160,000.
Right.
They have, as property values have gone up, the way that has been structured and agreed upon over the years, it has equated to an increase to what they receive. So that's how that figure comes about.
Okay.
In addition, we also have more homes to cover
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, I'd say in the past 4 years, I'll be here 4 years next month, and I think we probably have 25, 30 new homes that have been built. So, probably maybe more than that, but yeah.
Okay. So the difference between the 80K per mill last year and the 106 is 26.
Yeah, it's
So
1.5.
multiply that times 1.5.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And that gives us, that's $39,000 more than last year, which,
It was
It's-
160.
This
Yeah, but I'm talking about
year
the
is
difference.
approximately 160,000. For the last budget, the last year, it was right at, I think, 131, 132,000. So it's like a $28,000 increase. I can give you the exact numbers after the meeting, but the approximate amount is in that $29,000 range, the difference.
it seems like, because of the escalation in property values, that there's an element of a windfall, and we don't begrudge that. I mean, we're partners in this. But I'm wondering if it would make sense for both parties to make this a dollar contribution that we would be able to budget in advance rather than denominating it in terms of mills. In other words, if
What do you see
the
the
property
advantage
values
of
went
that,
down,
Okay,
that doesn't change their costs, but that would put the fire department in a tough position. And it would also avoid, the appearance of them getting a windfall simply because of what the county assessor does. Bill,
Their costs are going up.
I'm
just like
sure,
ours are.
yeah, as ours.
And they need the proper equipment. It's gotta be maintained
Absolutely.
properly. That's getting more expensive. The employment costs, the training costs,
Yeah.
et cetera. So as our costs go up, that property value, even though we did a rollback on our millage rate for our residents, it's costing each resident a little more because their property values are going up. So to me, the way it's structured right now makes a lot of sense to keep everybody whole, us whole and them whole, in terms of the expenditures and the costs they need. And we have a very high fire rating, correct? And
We do, yes.
not want to mess with that at all. So
It translates directly to insurance costs.
that's correct. So to me, I think for now, it's appropriate to do it like we're doing it. Maybe we could have some conversations later this year, for future, depending on what's going on with the economy, et cetera, and the digest change. Does that make sense?
It's gonna be a conversation. Budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, the backdrop of this is, as you pointed out, we've had genuine rollbacks for like the last 3 years. We've had 20% inflation in that period. And basically, we've been managing the city thanks to improvements in efficiency and, what our guys have learned to do over time. We've been making do with that. And, this is not a sustainable situation. And I think a little later on, we're gonna be talking about the House bill that would restrict future increases in property taxes. So that's the context in which I'm raising this, and it's something that we're not gonna impose on them, and we want them to do well, and we want them to have everything that our guys have to do their job. But it's just, and maybe I don't understand the process of the mills and which, that's pre-rollback
Right.
values and so on. But it's a question I'm raising, and I know maybe Ken's got some thoughts, and you certainly got some thoughts.
Well, I think right now, with the budgets are set, there's ours. Right, so
Yeah,
that's good.
We're not
So
arguing about
your-
anything right now.
your comment is a good seed to be planted as we consider what we're doing for next year,
Okay,
correct? Which,
yeah.
this summer, we are in our budget process. I think that's appropriate to bring up for sure. And we'll know a little bit more about all these other dynamics that are happening with, this new guidance from the state.
Okay,
Right?
it's just that, when we do our budgeting, everything we budget is in terms of dollars. And yet we've got an obligation in mills, which may or may not continue to work in the future for, whichever side.
That's
Well,
a
we can-
possibility.
We
So
certainly
just-
have a
Just
discussion.
raising it, we ought to be aware of it, we ought to be thinking about it.
Yep.
You're correct.
Thank you, Jim. Thank
Madam
you, Jim.
Mayor?
Yes,
I'd
yes,
like to
sir.
make a motion that we approve this.
Approve what? I'm teasing. Yes, sir. The ratification. Thank you. Second.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Jim. Discussion. All in favor of this motion, signify with aye.
Aye.
It is so done, so let it be written, so let it be done. Okay, let's go to consider approval of the 2025 committee appointments. Councilman, in your package, you have a listing of all the wonderful men and women in our city who have agreed to give their time, expertise, and hearts to our committees to help the council do our jobs, which is wonderful. I was thrilled to see it. We need to add one more person to the special projects committee. Her name came after the document was typed. If you will add Vicki Trogdon to the special projects committee, that would be fantastic. I'm truly not aware, and I meet with all the other municipality mayors and city managers, and I'm not aware of any other municipality that has the wonderful city committees, citizen committees that we have here, and it's fantastic. We so appreciate it. You make our job easier and make us a better city. So with that, I would like a motion to approve the committee members as presented in your packet. Thank you, Dan. Second.
Second.
Bill, discussion? All right.
Just to say that I think the mayor deserves a lot of credit for setting up this committee system, because it really leverages our ability to get things done that would otherwise, just really bog us down.
Yeah,
So thank you for that.
thank you, Jim. Thank you. I'll pay you later. All right. All in favor of this motion signify with aye. I was unanimous, and we approve the committee members. And thank you again to all the committee members who may watch this video or read the minutes. All right, next, we're going to do the ratification of resolution to adopt the 2024 Raven County Joint Comprehension Plan, which is a big deal. Jason, would you please present a brief summary of the comprehensive plan process and the importance of this document?
Madam Mayor, last year, as you all probably recall, every 5 years, the state of Georgia requires the comprehensive plan for each municipality and county to be updated. It was last done in 2019, so 24, it was time to do it again. We had representatives from the city. We had several public hearings to include here at City Hall, as well as other cities in the county and within the county. It has been submitted to the state for approval. It's been approved. As you go through these documents, they can be very arduous, very long. It's more of a 20,000-foot document in that a lot of the things are aspirational. But to answer your question, as far as the importance of this document, when it comes to obviously being in compliance with the state as far as to be eligible for grants and things like that. But as you read through it, I think there's language there that benefits us. For example, if there's if we're trying to go for a grant that involves infrastructure, we need to have language in there. And there's language in there. It's very generalized language, but it's there all the same. And really, this is just this vote here, this resolution is just basically the city recognizing that it's been adopted, and it's more just kind of dotting the i's and crossing the t's. But again, if anybody doesn't know, we partnered with all of the cities in Raven County. This was done through the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission, and we'll be visiting this again. And the county, exactly. And we'll be visiting again here in 28, 29. So 5 more years. So the good thing about it is that if something gets missed, you can pick it back up in 5 years. But at this time, it's really just more of a use for formality, for lack of a better word. But we just need to go on record that we acknowledge and accept it.
Thank you, Jason. Any
Do we get to
questions?
read it before we vote on it, or
Well, I hope you did.
did we get a copy of that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, it's I don't
you
know.
said it a while back. Did you get it?
I certainly
say
don't
yes.
remember
Just
it.
say yes, Jim.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
Well, I just say more than anything else, what this does is it establishes the fact that we have a plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And it also establishes the fact that we understand everybody else's plan and we're all working together on the same plan. And it makes a lot of sense for us to be part of that.
Right,
Well, we're required to.
yeah.
Yeah, so we have
Well,
to do it to get state money.
To be eligible for a lot of things, we're required to.
Yeah.
Right.
Another good thing about that is that just like we have these joint meetings, the mayor and I go to a lot of these meetings, it's an opportunity for the other cities to kind of share what their wants, their needs, their desires are, as Councilor Allred said. We all kind of make sure we're working together, we're not working against each other. Because a lot of times we do share the same issues and concerns, and So it's, yeah, exactly. So,
Limited.
Yeah, the other good thing is there was quite a bit of citizen input into this.
Yeah.
I went to several meetings. I think where there was probably 8 or 10, maybe 12 public hearings. I think I went to about 6 of those. And the one we had in the city, I would say was probably the most well received. Comparable to the first one that we had down in Clayton, but I would say there was probably 30, 35 people here. And you equate that to the number of citizens that we have in Sky Valley, that's a very high percentage, whereas you get 30 people at a county meeting with 16,000 people.
Well, they also had a digital survey that was done, and they gave all the results.
Yeah, this is the second comprehensive plan process that I've been through.
Yes, because you
My
did your
takeaway
solo.
the first time is that, you go through this process and then the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission takes that and makes your plan for you, not necessarily with the input of the council or not really arbitrating between some of the things that they heard that might be reasonable or unreasonable, or that we would actually want to do and maybe actually not want to do. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all approach, and
As I said, it's a 20,000 foot view plan, but the biggest takeaway, and I know what you're saying about that, because you're obviously not going to be able to cover every aspect, but it does keep us in compliance. It does allow us to go for grants, keep our highly qualified status, and as you know, we've got probably close to about $4 million in grants over the past 4 years. And certainly we would not be able to do that if we didn't have this document.
well, the point that I'm getting around to making is that it doesn't cost us anything to do this. The state demands this process and the state pays for this process. So in some ways, it's a state plan. And my feeling is that, if you do a comprehensive plan, it ought to be something that has our fingerprints like all over it. So that it serves as a much better guide as to what we do in the future than a plan that's just sort of extruded out the end of the machine.
And I think we tried to mitigate that by our planning sessions and so forth. We do have a mission and a vision statement, which I try to follow planning, and I think we do a pretty good job as a city.
We've got good alignment.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
It's-
All right. Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, I'll need a motion to ratify this resolution, please. Thank you, Bill. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor of ratifying the resolution, signify with aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. It is ratified. All right, next we got to consider the approval of fiscal year 2025 Sky Valley Marketing Committee report. I want to mention again, as Gordon mentioned, that the committee budget approves its funding from all the entities now in Sky Valley, including timeshare. So they're all putting their money where their mouth is and helping us all market, because all the entities benefit from the marketing projects. So the city of Sky Valley, the Sky Valley Country Club, the Sky Valley Property Owners Association, and our new partner, the Sky Valley Timeshares, have all put money into this budget. Gordon, you want to speak a little bit about this budget?
I'll just ask, are there any questions?
Yes, you got a copy of it in your packet. Any questions from the council?
All right.
Looks good. Great. All right. With that being said, I need a motion to approve the 2025 marketing committee budget as presented.
I move we accept the marketing committee budget as presented.
Thank you, Jim. Second. Thank you, Bill. Any other further discussion? All right, all in favor of this motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you, Gordon, for all that you've done to bring this committee way on up. Woo. Even our cell phones, that's pretty cool. I had thought about that. And thank you all for showcasing our city, and I think you've done a fabulous job, and your committee has too. All right, consider adoption of the amendment of the City of Sky Valley zoning regulation as they apply to the solar energy systems second reading. That's where we are now. Our planning and zoning commission members worked really hard to create this ordinance, as we know we're coming into the age finally into solar energy, and we've had several builders suggest that they will include solar energy in their construction. We've had the first reading. At that time, the council asked for a few minor changes in the draft ordinance, and Karen, whose fingers are always bloody because she types all the time, has completed these revisions in the draft that you see. Jason, they weren't lengthy. No, they were not. So what are you saying? Karen doesn't need to have bad fingers? Is that what you're saying? Okay, Jason, would you please summarize this ordinance draft so that we can present it as our second reading?
Can you pull up that, go to that first page? Which is the intent, at the very top of the page. Just, you know, the first page of what it talks about, I need to read that for the second reading. Everything going on,
You don't have this memorized, Jason? Is that what you're saying?
And, okay. Madam Mayor, this is the second reading, and again, this goes to solar energy systems. As you all know, this went before the Planning and Zoning Board. They provide a recommendation to the council. It has been reviewed by our city attorney. He has given us the blessing to go ahead and have the second reading. But an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Sky Valley, Georgia, adopted on August 11, 2003, for the purpose of regulating the location, height, bulk, number of stories, and the size of structures, the amount of lot which may be occupied, the size of yards, courts, and other open space, the density and distribution of populations, the regulation of solar energy systems, the use of structures and land for trade, commerce, residence, recreation, conservation, water supply, sanitation, public activities, and other purposes, creating districts for said purposes and establishing the boundaries thereof, defining certain terms used herein, providing for the method of administration and amendment, defining the powers and duties of the Planning and Zoning Commission, building inspector, and government authority, providing penalties for violation, repealing conflicting regulations, and for other purposes. That should constitute the second reading. Again, this has been well discussed, and it provides a mechanism to regulate solar panels and those type things. So,
thank you, Jason.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions or comments from the council?
I see this does two things, you know, just to really boil it down. Number one, there's not gonna be any ground mounted solar arrays in Sky Valley, and that's a good thing. The other thing it suggests is that nobody should build the solar panels on the front of the house facing the street. And in other words, there's a sensitivity that might be aesthetic or something that we don't want to have that.
Also not exceeding the height of your existing structure.
Right, for firefighting and aesthetic reasons as well.
You don't want a solar, if your roof line is here, you don't want a solar panel up here.
Yeah.
Right.
We also got input from the chief as to how it needed to be installed and not impede the firemen working on the road.
Right, yeah. But basically, it's preventing it from going on anything facing the street. And, I'm just wondering if, okay, we've got at least one or two that I know of, and I look at those and I think, they don't really offend me. I think, what offends me or what offends somebody else could be two different things. It could be parking, cars parked on the street, in the right of way. It could be, pickup trucks exposed. It could be, driveways that are filled with 5 or 6 cars, regularly. And compared to some of those concerns, this doesn't seem like a really important thing to do. And does it limit people from installing solar if their house faces, south and there's a road? It sort of disqualifies them from doing solar power. Is that something we want to do? I don't have strong feelings on this, but are other people unoffended by seeing these?
Excuse me, could I make a point?
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
Sure, Jim.
And I have something I'd like to distribute. We currently have a permit for south-facing street side solar panels to be installed on Tahoe. According to our attorney, since nothing has been done on this ordinance, this regards to the old one, he can do that. He can put it facing street side. I'd like you to read, the company, all of you have heard of, I'm sure, is Tesla. And if you could just read that front page. Yeah, it's very thin, dim, sorry. But it might have something to do with how you feel regarding the street side. Other than
Jim, there was a lot of discussion, not only about the looks of the apparatus, but also a glare factor. So I
Yes.
know they talked about that a lot.
And this addresses
And,
that.
and I think the new stuff addresses it.
Yes.
That's what Jim is talking about.
Would you mind reading that? If you can read it,
It's
Go for it, Dan.
very faint.
it's very faint.
Oh, you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'm sorry.
All right, purpose of this letter is to clarify why glare and glint study is not necessary for the installation of a Tesla solar system. I would point out Tesla is not the only company installing solar systems. Modern solar panels are designated or designed to minimize reflecting light, as any reflected light represents a lost energy. Typical smooth glass photovoltaic panels reflect only around 2% of incoming sunlight, which is less glare and glint hazard than the glass windows. Tesla solar roof tiles are comprised of textured glass to create a slate-like appearance. Thus, textured surface reflects light in a diffused or scattered manner, which will not be received as brightly as smooth surface reflecting in a direct or spectacular manner. Specular manner.
Yeah.
Again, that's.
It's very faint.
And my vision is not that great. Attached to this study, to this letter, are independent studies on the subject matter indicating low glare and glint risk of photovoltaic panels in general, and description of the smooth versus textured reflectivity outlined. Please reach out to our permitting inspections team if you have any further questions.
And furthermore, the gentleman that has the permit to currently install these, the house next door has them and has had them for over a decade. I don't think anyone's even noticed them before. If they did, they didn't say anything.
Is that the house across the pond?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And Dan, to address your concern that you mentioned regarding the elevation on the rooftop, these panels are flat. They're not gonna be raised, because of the position of the roof. they're just gonna go on the roof and stay there. They're not gonna be tilted depending on where the sun is.
Right.
So, and another reason I bring this up is because I'm a member of the P and Z committee, and I didn't have this information at the time that we had the last meeting. And I tend to agree with Jim Curtis's concern about, you know, not a moratorium, but limiting the positioning on the street side. Because if you look, we have two in the entire Sky Valley up until now. One is over on Overlook Street, it's on the back of the house, but it's the back of the house is street side. And then the other one is over here on Tahoe and Snowbird. And it's on both sides of this house.
Yeah.
Front and back, and you can see it from the street, both sides. So I, as a resident, don't have a problem with it, but again, that's up to you guys, but I hear what you're saying, and I agree.
Okay.
I think the big concern is not whether you or whether Jim is concerned about it, but what do the neighbors think? And, you know, if somebody is concerned about it that lives right there, if we don't do something like this, then it's too late.
Like I said,
There's nothing in our ordinance or in our city bylaws that precludes somebody like this company from coming in and giving us this information and saying, can I have a variance?
the two that we have over 10 years, as far as I know, there's never been a complaint.
Yeah.
From any of the neighbors.
So Dan, is our intent to enact this and then not enforce it unless
No.
there's a neighbor complaining?
No, that's not what I said at all.
Okay, well, I'm trying to figure that out.
I said that the intent is to enact this, and then if a company like this one feels that they've got an issue that won't be a problem, that won't be a problem for the neighbors, that they come in, apply for a variance, and we look at it then on an individual basis. Tesla's not the only company doing this.
Aha, okay.
Somebody else may come along with something that is an issue. So it's better that we look at them individually
Do we have to
than
look
to
at
ignore
it?
it.
Do we, the council, have to look at this variance, or is that something that?
No, that's a
Jim
council,
could do?
it's a council procedure.
That's a council.
Mhm.
Process to P and Z.
Yeah,
Variances go
Yeah.
first through the P and Z and then come to the council.
then we have to approve it or disapprove it. Okay, great
But
discussion.
if you don't do this.
Yeah.
Then you're ignoring all of them. So,
Okay,
Okay,
thank
any
you.
other comments? Good question, Jim. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Any other questions? All right, we've had the second reading, which means now we come to whether we approve this amendment. Do I have a motion to approve this amendment as discussed? Thank you, Dan. Second.
Second.
Second, yeah.
Thank you, Bruce. Any more discussions? All right, all in favor of adopting the ordinance signify with aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, the ordinance amendment is adopted. Okay, we're almost there, y'all. Hang in there. Consider approval to purchase one excavator with an enclosed cab in the amount not to exceed $75,000 to be paid out of the T-Splosh funds. Jason, take it away.
Madam Mayor, Council, as when we did the budget last year, this was a recognized item or need, it was budgeted for. We actually have an excavator, I think it was bought around 2017. It's my understanding originally when that expenditure was approved by the council, previous council, it was supposed to have a cab. For whatever reason, it did not have a cab. Safety's always first. The fact that it does not have a cab, it does limit some of the things that we can use that thing for, from a safety standpoint. As I think Jerry mentioned earlier, we recognize this need back, and it's amazing how all these things kind of work hand in hand. With some of the water leaks that we had, we're now adjusting the pressure through these, rebuilding these pits. We actually had a unfortunate perfect storm of two pretty catastrophic breaks at the same time. And these breaks, they never really seem to come at like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, it's 4 o'clock on a Friday or something like that. When everybody's here, everybody's at home. And we found ourselves in a situation where we have one excavator And we needed them for both places. And so, it would have been very nice then. What can we do to try to get the water back on as fast? Because that's what everybody wants to know. How quickly can the water get back on? Now, this would be funded out of T-Splosh. It would be used for, defining ditches, roads, culvert replacement, et cetera. However, being a small city, we would use it obviously for water, just like we enter to use other equipment that we have. But, the fact that it would have a cab, you could add a bush hog to it, flail, there's other things that you could do where we cannot do with our current one that we have now, because the risk of flying objects, debris, et cetera. Again, as the city continues to grow, with all of the projects that we have going on right now, we tried, as discussed, with the rollbacks and everything else, we spend an exhaustive amount of time every year, all the time, looking at efficiencies budget, and we feel like this would be the most efficient thing. There's other uses for these things. We train our guys to use these things, safety first. We went out, we spent a lot of time, looking at these pieces of equipment, what's gonna suit our needs, what's gonna be the most cost effective. And I know Cody's gonna get up, I know they went and visited one of these machines. And we, just like we do with the police department, where we've tried to go with the same fleet of Explorers, Ford, et cetera, we've tried to go with Kubota. I think Cody's gonna touch on that here in a second, because our one units of Kubota. But, as we try to pit these companies to kind of get competitive with us, the request is to cap it at a certain amount. We got several quotes. Some were in the $80,000, $90,000 range. We've got two companies right now, Kubota and Bobcat, that are very aggressively doing for our business. We've got them down below the 75,000, but there is a need for this. This is a budgeted item, and with all the projects that we have going on, we talked about trying to do a planning retreat and constantly thinking ahead about what we're going to be doing. And this is just a key part of that process. So I don't want to oversell this, but, and I don't want to take it away from Cody, but if you'll get up and talk a little bit. And we actually have a little bit of a video. It's about a minute long. I know this meeting's running long, but, if anybody has any questions, we don't have to show it, but if anybody has any questions, I think the video would probably do a better job than what we can do with this actually. Yes, sir.
Is there an advantage staying the same manufacturer?
Well, that's what I was kind of touching on. We try to do that. I have been very pleased, and I think the guys will too, with Bobcat. Bobcat, just like Kubota, is an exceptional company. We're kind of leaning towards Bobcat, just because availability of parts and service, customer service. Right now, Kubota, they're going through some restructuring. Sometimes parts are a little hard to get. I think Cody's gonna touch on that, but, when we bought the skid steer, the track loader a couple years ago, we had originally looked at going with a Kubota. We went with a Bobcat. It's done a phenomenal job. I'm sure you've seen it out and about in the city doing things, but, right now, we always try to go with one brand if possible. As you look at most of our fleet of vehicles, we're kind of going with Ford. You can't hardly beat that Power Stroke, diesel. But I think it's my understanding that, and Cody's gonna touch on this, that we feel like probably the Bobcat's gonna be the way to go. They've been very competitive. The customer service is second to none. They actually brought a unit up from Rome, Georgia, to give us a demonstration. I know he's gonna talk about that. And then, again, we have a video. We don't have to show it, but if anybody really wants to see this thing in action, we can do that.
Real quick, other question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a difference in warranties?
Both of them have a 2-year warranty.
2-year, I think 2,000 hours typically. You can buy extended service agreements, but, these things are workhorses. The one we have now is a 17. It's well out of warranty. But again, not to toot the guys' horns, but they're meticulous in the maintenance. If you own it's like your own personal vehicle, it's all about the maintenance. And, and I'll say this and I'm gonna hush, I just said that before, but, we're so these guys are, and the city as a whole, we're so proud of the commitment that the council makes. And having the faith and trust that we're doing the right things. They take so much pride in this equipment because they know what it costs, they realize what it costs, and we make it last. And again, there's a critical need for this, and take it away, Coach.
Yes, sir. I believe you touched on most of everything, but.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. We're back up to a full crew now, so, we're able to split off and go separate ways. And a lot of times we find out that, you know, we need the excavator here, well, we need it over here. It takes time to move those things. And it really just boils down to efficiency, you know,
and if one of them breaks, you have
if
the
one
other.
of them breaks, and then the other one's getting, you know,
Service.
it's getting some age on it now, and if it needs to go in, we have something that we can continue and fix water leaks and stuff like that. As far as the Bobcat goes, like Jason said, the customer service we have received from Bobcat is outstanding. They actually, the first quote I got on the Bobcat machine was about 82,000. They dropped $10,000 off just to get our,
Cause you're good looking.
I wish, just to get our business. But like I said, we love our Kubota. That's been a great machine, but I believe moving forward, the Bobcat is gonna be the way to
Do
go.
we wanna just, go ahead, what's another minute of this meeting? Throw the video in
I
there.
think we ought to see it.
Yeah, I do too.
While that's being queued up, being efficiency to death under that frame, we do have another employee that's going to get a CDL this year. Kevin.
Let's take a closer look at the Bobcat E60 compact excavator. This 6-ton compact excavator delivers maximum hydraulic and engine power to tackle aggressive digs and challenging lifts, taking your performance to new levels. The E60 gives operators confidence on tough job sites thanks to better digging and slewing performance, along with increased lift over side capacity. The E60 has a 55 horsepower engine and a maximum dig depth of 13 feet. Long days are part of the job, and the E60's premium cab is loaded with comfort features, including clear visibility to your work and job site, more head and leg room, ergonomic controls, reduced noise and vibration, and options to fit the way you work, including a widescreen touch display, rear view camera, automatic heat and air conditioning, and the exclusive Bobcat depth check system. Low effort joysticks respond precisely and easily to operator input, helping operators work longer with less fatigue. They're also equipped with fingertip boom swing and auxiliary control functionality. The E60 compact excavator is loaded with job-proven features to give you more uptime and durability to help operators stay on the job longer. Work group hoses are routed securely through the swing casting for best protection. Bucket lines run along the top of the arm where they are better protected while trenching. Cast pivot joints offer precise pin alignment, which lengthens the service life of pins and bushings. The work group also accommodates a second set of auxiliary hydraulics, so that option can easily be added. With so many impressive features, there's nothing conventional about the Bobcat E60 conventional tail swing compact excavator.
Do they train our operators, Cody?
Bobcat? No.
Yeah.
No, we did.
You just have to read the manual and think it.
That one
Okay.
was faster.
Yeah, the specs on that one is just a little bit better. Like I said, they're both 13,000-pound machines. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Really, customer service has sold us on this one. And we already had a relationship going because we bought our skid steer from them, so.
Right. And them dropping
I think we need
the
to continue
price
that good
10,000 was
relationship
pretty
with
good
her.
too.
We're always negotiating.
Yeah.
The enclosed part of it is a biggie too, because when you're out there and it, say you did have something next week and it in the single digits and you're on that excavator trying to dig and the colder you get, you don't function right, you know what I mean? You kind of get disoriented.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, yes, they do.
That's pretty much every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Cody, is that something we would be able to use to clean ditches with?
Yes, sir,
Because that
absolutely. Yeah,
24-inch bucket looks really big.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, what, we really, it's just gonna be a step forward from everything we've been,
Okay.
we're just gonna be able to do two things with the excavator at once. You know, in one day, we'll be able to clean ditches and repair asphalt or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Or if a big storm like Helene come through, we can be on 3 trees at one time instead of just 2, the Bobcat and the excavator.
Right.
We have enough people now to be able to send a guy, a machine,
operate all the.
and the truck driver.
Right, right.
Does that come with a thumb?
It does, hydraulic thumb. Comes with a 2-foot bucket.
So, since we have this budgeted, and it's T-Splosh.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee on this T-Splosh or other funding opportunities for the future, right? We always,
Yeah, it will, there will be another referendum probably
Yes.
very soon, correct?
right, so
We hope it
we,
has.
we can afford it now.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's going to happen with the economy and with property values and some of those additional fundings. I would think it makes a lot of sense to get this now. To give us a little insurance about what's gonna happen. Not to mention the problems with our aging water system and.
Well, and the future too, if all the, you know, the sewer plant,
Sewer plant, yeah.
you know, we will be responsible for those like lines that they bust too, so.
Right.
That'll be one for water, one for.
I
sewer,
agree with
one for
Bill. I think
roads,
it
one
makes
for-
perfect sense. Any
I
other
do
comments?
too, it really upgrades our.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I would just like to ask this question. It's it may sound like a stupid question, but
No, you can't use it.
I think it needs to be asked. I mean, this is the best use of the $75,000 for your department that you have. There's no other issue or problem that would be better solved than this one.
That's correct.
That's what you're saying.
Good.
I have another question. Let me start this by saying I'm very much in favor of this, so my next question isn't going to impact that at all. Can our existing excavator be retrofitted with a cab for your safety?
That's a great question, and I've never looked into that.
Well-
I would think that it
I've-
can be done with enough money.
And if it can, is it worth it, given its age?
Yeah.
I've actually had that conversation with Kubota, and y'all kind of answered the question. It's, yes, you could retrofit, but it's not, you know, it's not, when you buy one without a cab, it's designed, engineered to not have a cab, and so you basically would, what you would spend to do it with the age of that unit.
Throwing good money
You
into
know,
it.
that thing was probably $60,000 new in 17. Let's say it's worth 30 now. You spend $20,000, put the cab on, it's probably not the best. I'd rather put that 20,000 towards this thing.
Just asking.
Yes, it's a good question.
Good question. All right.
And of course, it wouldn't have the air conditioning and the.
Yeah, it'd be a little hotter than in the summertime, right?
Is it a good stereo?
It actually does.
Netflix.
Oh, my God.
Apple CarPlay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, I'm sold. I'm an
Okay.
enthusiastic.
I'd like a motion to approve this purchase as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Bill, second.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any more discussion? Thank you for your presentation, Cody and
Thank you.
Jason. All in favor of approving this motion, signify with aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The motion is approved. We're coming now to the public forum. If we haven't put you all to sleep, any meeting participant may speak to the council for a maximum of 5 minutes. The speaker will need to be recognized and state their name and address if they wish to speak. Do we have anybody wishing to use this time? Anybody else? Sharon?
Nobody was indicated.
Okay,
Yeah, they're off already.
with that,
We're at lunch.
they're at lunch, yeah. Our next thing, our next session, item is the executive session. The council can go into an executive session to discuss legal actions, possible litigations, property, real estate, personnel issues, and so forth. Let it be known that there will be no action taken during this executive session. I will need a motion to go off the record and go into executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor of this motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now officially off the record, and I see bathroom facilities in hand, right? All right, thank you, council. We can go back, we can go back off. We can go back onto the record. We had our executive session. Let it be known that no action was taken. All in favor, first of all, can I have a motion to go back on the record? Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dan, for second. All right, all in favor of this motion, signify with aye.
Aye.
All right, we are officially back on the record.
I would move that we adjourn our meeting, since all of our items have been accomplished.
Thank you, Mr. President. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Bruce. All in favor of adjournment? Adjournment.
I like that.
Aye.
I'm not sure from Kentucky.